Attention, all Foundation staff. Attention. Attention, SCP Foundation staff. This is Site-42. We are broadcasting anomalously to your encrypted YouTube accounts. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the stream from your encrypted YouTube accounts, only with other Foundation staff. I'm talking to you, Steve. Do not use your civilian account. Dang it. We are broadcasting. We hope you can hear us. We are going live in 3, 2, 1. Hey there, Foundation staff. This is a D-Class Sherman, but you can call me Sherm. Welcome to another Anomalous Broadcast from Site-42. For anybody unfamiliar with our show, the rundown goes like this. Number 1, I read you an SCP document or tale or something from the wiki. B, I open up the floor to the community to discuss what we've read. We're often visited by SCP authors, staff, and fans, and if we're lucky, the author of the article themselves shows up to share some insight. Remember that if you'd like to join the conversation yourself, I will be monitoring the YouTube chat in between chapters and answering questions, as will my guest. Also, remember that if you enjoy the show, leave a like and a comment to let us know, subscribe and hit the bell, and if you really want to help us out, become a patron at patreon.com/site42. Now, this is a real quick plug. We are not sponsored tonight, but I just like this creator's work, and so I'm plugging it really quick. If you go to Grim Creature on Etsy, you will find the 999 doll that I showed you guys last time, the squishy SCP-999, which was incredible. But also, this week, we got an SCP-5343. And look at, it's like bigger than my head. It is amazing. And it's all wrapped up, and it just wants to love you. It just wants to love you. So yes, these are here. That is Grim Creature on Etsy. I just like their stuff, and it's been helping me with the TikToks to have props, and so that's what that's there for. I thought you guys would enjoy it. Now, on to the real show. Tonight, we are featuring SCP-5343, titled The For You News App, by author JakdragonX. And lucky for us, Jack has decided to come on the show tonight. So let's bring him on. Everybody say hello to Jack. Hello, Jack.
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing just dandy. I am doing splendid even.
Fantastic. How was your week?
It was pretty good. It was pretty pretty eventful with the new contest coming out and everything else. I've been busy with some other teammates trying to work on that.
Fantastic. Any sneak hints about your contest team you can give us without making your teammates mad?
We're going to be focusing in on a particular canon where we're going to be going very deep into the gritty, into the more sinister tone of this canon, the unfounded canon. So just be looking forward to that. We're going to be expanding as much as we can on that front. So
fantastic to hear. Do you have any pre-show for SCP-5343 before we get into it?
Not necessarily. This SCP was written to sort of elaborate on a group of interest, a GOI called Westhead Media, that was originally introduced by an author named Tanhoney. A lot of people may know Tanhoney from SCP-5000. He established this GOI, and he was looking for authors who were invested in the idea of it and wanting to see if anyone was interested in writing about it. And I really liked the premise of it, and I decided to write for the Westhead Media. So this article, along with a few others from a few different authors, helped allow it to get introduced to the tag list, the Westhead Media GOI onto the tag list, and to have it more formally recognized in the community. So I'm excited to have it being read out loud. So thank you.
Fantastic. And before we jump into the story, I just want to acknowledge the chat real quick. Everyone's very concerned for my life since I brought on SCP-2521, as well they should be. And I talked about it, and I called it by its number. That was a poor choice on my part.
Oh.
Holy cow, 17 viewers and 17 likes. That is a perfect score. Go team. Thank you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We have, I'm being told by Radgelnazarim. I'm sorry, that's confused. Radgelunazrim Says there's an interpretive dance explanation of SCP-2521. And dear God, am I looking that up as soon as we're done? Because I'm so interested.
I'm interested in that. I want to see that, actually.
I did not know that existed, and thank you for telling us, because we are going to go look that up as soon as the stream's done. Hello, everyone else in the chat. Do you want SCP-999 duty? Of course you do. Put your name on the rotation list. We'll get you in when we can. Oh, wow, the likes are at 20 now. You guys are working hard.
Yeah.
All right.
That's awesome.
So for this document, I am going to start us off. I'm going to trade it off to Jack for the midsection, then I'm going to bring us home for the ending. So, you ready to roll?
Yeah, I've never read anything out loud before, so this is going to be interesting.
That's quite all right. Here we go. Item number, SCP-5343. Object class, Euclid. Special containment procedures. A single copy of SCP-5343 is contained within a storage locker in Site-134. Foundation web crawlers assigned to SCP-5343 are to monitor all mobile application distribution services for activity relating to this anomaly. If SCP-5343 is discovered, Foundation agents integrated within these services are to purge its ability to transfer files. Human subjects who have been affected by SCP-5343 must have their mobile devices confiscated. A computer tomography, CT, brain scan must also be performed and physically stored on-site for future reference. Once a subject undergoes basic recovered memory therapies and is cleared by an on-site medical staff, Is that proper grammar? By on-site. Okay, so that "and" shouldn't be there unless it's a member of on-site. But anyways, we'll go on. Of all related issues, the use of Class C amnestics prior to reintegration into the general public is required. In the event that a human subject perishes due to exposure from SCP-5343, recovered autopsies are to be stored and evaluated for significant changes. Take it away, Jack.
Description. SCP-5343 is a mobile news application operating on all handheld devices. Although media presented on SCP-5343 varies, information within these publications can directly or indirectly affect the subjects operating the application. Information presented on SCP-5343 includes stories about the affected subject. The events covered may range from anywhere between the subject's birth and the subject's death. Informative news snippets about the affected subject's relatives or close friends. Reports concerning events that have directly affected or will affect the subject. Photographed or recorded footage of the subject. After a period from anywhere between 4 weeks and 2 years, subjects affected by SCP-5343 experience permanent anterograde and retrograde amnesia. This has been attributed to the scarring of cerebral tissues within the affected subject's temporal lobes following prolonged exposure to SCP-5343. SCP-5343 was discovered in an apartment building on August 12, 2019 in Chicago, Illinois. Foundation personnel were authorized to investigate after intercepted police reports indicated that the subject was unresponsive after using a mobile app that they recently downloaded. It was later discovered that the subject had been deceased for approximately 1 week prior to investigation by Foundation personnel. After SCP-5343's initial containment, a series of experiments were performed in order to verify the extent and limitations of this anomaly. These experiments, along with the results, can be found below. Subject: D159823. Procedure: the subject was ordered to operate SCP-5343 extensively for 6 months. Results: refer to Addendum 5343-1. Subject: D210987. Procedure: the subject operated the application for 2 days before SCP-5343 was returned to its containment. Results: the subject reported minor memory loss. No evidence of cerebral wounding was detected. It's been concluded that SCP-5343's anomalous abilities take approximately 1 week to begin manifesting. Subject: D658972. Procedure: SCP-5343 was transferred onto a computer terminal. The subject was ordered to operate the application. Results: the subject was unable to access SCP-5343, even while operating a virtual machine. It has been concluded that SCP-5343 can only be accessed on mobile devices. Subjects: D986714 and D185234. Procedure: D986714 was ordered to operate SCP-5343 for 3 days until transferring ownership to D185234. D185234 will use the application for an additional 3 days. Results: D986714 reported signs of memory loss, while D185234 was unaffected by SCP-5343. D185234 admitted that they did not sign out of the application and instead continued using D986714 session. Subject D185234 was terminated from the experiment.
Let's make a mental note here. During our discussion later, I want to come back to D210987 for reasons we'll discuss later. Cool?
Alrighty.
All right, moving on to the addendum. Addendum 5343-1. D159823 was ordered to maintain a written journal at all times throughout the previously listed experiment. This journal was later found after the experiment. Journal entries concerning SCP-5343 have been added below. Access recovered documents 5343-1. And I have a question about that paragraph in the addendum too, so that's my second thing that I'm going to remember. The D that starts with a 2 and the addendum paragraph. Okay, here we go. Recovered documents. Truth be told, I don't really know where to begin. I really don't know where to begin with this. I guess I should explain the situation, right? Hello, my name is Ryan, and currently I'm in some facility stuck inside of a cell. It's great, especially since they gave me this journal and a phone. I don't really know why I have this phone, but the smart-looking guy says that I needed to use it whenever I could. On to the next log. Going along from that, those guys also said that I had to use this app that I've never seen before. Thankfully, the app is the only one on the phone itself, so I can't possibly get it confused with something else. I'm still curious about how they deleted camera and all the other apps from the phone, but I don't really care enough at this point to ask. Next log. I don't have much else to add right now. I think tomorrow they want to watch me use the phone and stuff. I guess so they can observe how I feel about it. I don't really know, but I'll have that to look forward to. Until then, I suppose. Next log. It's been about a day or so since my first entry. I spent some of last night and most of today trying to figure out how to use the app itself. It's really pretty for what it is. The home screen and the little buttons have this nice contrast to it that's really pleasing to the eye. When I first opened it, I was asked to subscribe now to see your personalized newsfeed. I didn't know exactly what it meant, but I guess I'm a subscriber now. It's weird. It didn't ask for an email or an account when I signed up. It just accepted my request. It even knew my name, which I thought was odd at first. Next log. What's also weird is that the first article on the app actually talked about someone I once knew. A friend of mine named Ralph. I won't get into everything, but the gist was that he got some promotion at his job and was a prominent leader in the company. I mean, it's fantastic and all that he got promoted, but how did this app know about it? Ralph wasn't a super popular guy, so the article really took me for a surprise. But now that I think about it, he does work at Redacted Company, so I guess it does make sense. Next log. I'm probably overthinking it. I did see some other articles about sports and whatnot that piqued my interest. It's always nice to remember the outside world, and I know many of the other people that are locked up here don't really have the same luxury. It was just, that article really freaked me out at first, but only because it was kind of personal. I should probably just relax, you know? I'll take some time to compose myself and probably go back to sleep. Next log. I'm starting to see a lot of articles about myself, which, by the way, is absolutely fucking terrifying. How do they know all this stuff? One of the posts even talked about my life in Indy when I was in high school, but how in the fuck did they find that? I've been looking through an app more and more, and just to see what kind of information it has on me. Next log. None of these articles have author names or anything in them, so it's even more fucking terrifying. Is there someone with a camera in my room or something? I mean, I haven't found one or anything, but I don't think that's the case. Next log. I can't stop thinking about the what if. What if there's someone watching me at all times? What if someone knew everything about my life? It hurts my head even to talk about it, even to think about it. Next log. I need to rest. Next log. After using this app for only about 4 days, I've started to really figure out how fucking weird it actually is. I have read a total of 13 articles, and I've counted at least 6 so far that have talked about either someone I know or someone I love. How does it know this? I mean, I've heard about websites and stuff selling your data and having ads target you or whatever, but this? The amount of information it has is horrifying. Next log. I've asked some of the doctor guys or whatever if I could stop using it, but they just keep telling me that the app is supposed to act like this. I guess I don't have much of a choice, but I don't really think they realize just how against the internet I really am. I didn't even have a social media account before I got locked up. Now they expect me to be okay with this? Next log. I want to just destroy the damn thing, but I know that would only cause me trouble down the line. So, I guess I'm stuck using this freaky app or whatever until the doctors take it back. Which is annoying as hell, but nothing I can control. Next log. Time to sleep then, I guess. Next log. I remember hearing something about attention engineers or whatever that try to get people addicted to their phones. My friend from a few years ago tried to convince me that Facebook and Instagram would hire these people so they could figure out how to get customers to use their stuff more. I didn't believe him, or her, at first, but after using this phone, I'm starting to feel more convinced. I haven't stopped using the device since Tuesday, and that was days ago. Of course, the fact that I'm locked up in the cell doesn't really help with entertainment. But still, I shouldn't be acting like this, right? Next log. Speaking of entertainment, there was this one article I read yesterday that really spooked me. The headline read, "Prediction. Darnell will fall?" ? It just talked about me falling down some flight of stairs or something. It didn't really say when it would happen, but that wasn't the thing that bothered me. Near the bottom of the article, it had this image of me sitting on the cot in my cell. How did this app get that photo? I'm starting to think that whatever place I'm being held in is working with the people who made the app. And that's why there's a photo of me on there. Next log. I can't really prove it right now, but that has to be the reason. Why else would I need to keep doing this? I think this place is a cover-up for it. There's probably attention engineers right now that are watching my every step, trying to figure out how they can convince me to keep using the app. Next log. Fuck that. I'll need to try a little harder. Next log. I fell down some stairs today walking to dinner. Next log. This app is really getting to me. I've been reading more and more. It's gotten to the point now that I'm missing my family. I was so upset to see that Langley Pond was getting emptied out. My wife Laura and I, along with our daughter Jaden, will go out there all the time to have fun. Next log. I remember one time when Jaden was still a baby, where some drunk idiot fell into the pond while fishing for bluegills. It was late in the evening, and he and his buddies were chilling out by the dock near us. When it happened, Laura begged me to jump in and save him. I guess she was afraid that he'd drown or something, but I'm pretty sure the fat dude could swim fine. Anyways, I went out and helped him, and he gave us like $20. I guess it was to say thanks, but it really didn't do much for us. Next log. Hey, there's an article about Laura. The app says it's a spotlight, so I'm going to go read that. I'll write in here again later. Next log. It's been about 2 weeks since I started writing in this journal. The app now has started writing articles about people I don't really know about. Like today, the article was talking about some girl named Felicia and how she just died from a car accident. It was really sad and all, but I don't know who that is. The article said I knew her from elementary school. I wonder if she's maybe famous now. Next log. I'm really starting to miss my family back home. They cross my mind every day, but recently they've been the focal point of my thoughts for a while now. I hope they let me write another letter or two for Laura or little Jaden. I see their names in some of the articles, and It's really nice to see things about them. On Wednesday, I saw something about Jaden winning her first spelling bee at school. I also saw Laura getting promoted at her job, whatever it was. I'm happy for them both, even though they probably wish I was gone. Next log. I'm just going to leave this here. I don't know how much else I could add. Next log. I just want to go home now. It seems like the entire world is just fucked. Every day I sit in here and cry about Jaden's safety. With all this talk in the news about outbreaks and school shootings, sometimes I wish I was around a teacher how to use a gun. Hell, I'd just be comfortable with seeing her go into second grade. Next log. But I can't. Not anymore. Not after everything I've done. Over time, I've learned to just accept it, even if it hurts. Even if I can make it out of prison, my past will always come back to haunt me. I just wish I did more for her before I left. Next log. I shouldn't take my frustrations out on some piece of paper. Maybe I should just lay down and go to sleep. Next log. Night. Next log. I woke up this morning to see that Laura apparently cheated on me with her boss. Next log. I had a check-in with some of the doctors today. They asked how I felt and everything. I think it was their attempt at seeing whether or not the app has affected me. I told them I felt fine. I didn't want to mention that what's-her-face, some little bitch, had been cheating on me for years. Next log. I don't know how many articles I've read. There must be hundreds, though, at this point. Sometimes I'll even skip lunch or dinner just so I can catch up on my feed. Is that okay? I feel like I shouldn't do that, but I can't help it. Next log. I'm going to catch up on the stuff I missed. I'll come back to writing later. Next log. I don't even understand most of the topics in these articles anymore. It's like all the names and places are foreign to me. I wonder why the app would do this. It doesn't feel very personalized anymore, with the exception of my name popping up sometimes in the articles. Next log. I've tried reading through some of my journal entries, but not even those help anymore. I've also been getting some migraines recently. Nothing major, but definitely a pain in the ass. I think I'll go to the doctors and ask them to give me some more medication. Hopefully that'll help me. Next log. Would, misspelling, oops. Would you look at that? It's been almost a week or so since I wrote in here. Guess I've been busy with other things. I hope the people outside don't mind. They won't tell me why I'm in here. Did I do something wrong? Next log. Oh, it's time to eat. I wonder what's on the menu. I haven't eaten in forever. Been busy reading and whatnot. Oh, it's right. It's only a misspelling because story. It's story misspellings. My head keeps hurting. Next log. Read something about a kid graduating to second grade. It's cool, I guess. I don't know how that got on my feed, though. And if you're reading along with you'll see all the misspellings. There's a lot of them. That's the point right now. Continuing on, next log. The doctors gave me something called Tylenol. I did not know how to use it, so I asked if they could help me take it. I did not realize how hard it was to swallow something so small like that. Next log. My head hurts so much. I need help, but the doctor said they already gave me medicine. Next log. But I have not taken anything for it. Next log. None of these articles make sense anymore. Next log. Who am I? Next log. Make the pain stop. End log. The subject was later found deceased in their cell. A final autopsy recovered from D-159823 reported a cerebral wound pattern that was similar to other subjects. This pattern has been deemed non-hazardous and can be observed below. Ah, okay, I see what's happening now. Wow, this pattern was in their brain. Uh-oh. We thank you. We hope you enjoyed. We heart your support. Thanks for your contribution. To unsubscribe, please text redacted phone number. Westhead Media. End. Okay, that was a ride. Thank you for my emotions.
Oh, of
Poor
course,
sap.
anytime.
Cool.
Anytime.
So, at the end of that reading, what have you to say, to summarize, to talk about for this article?
This was probably one of my most favorite articles to read. Is that even correct grammar that I just said there? I don't really know. This was probably one of the coolest, and one of the, honestly, it just kind of like came to me in a car ride, which that tends to be a consistent theme for any good idea. It just kind of comes to you naturally. But this was just something very heartwarming to me too. This has a lot of implications, not even just as the article, but the concept, the idea itself, the almost symbolic relationship between someone's phone and what they digest. But no, other than that, this was just one of my favorite articles that I've ever written. So
It is very prudent or prurient to today's like social media obsessed atmosphere.
yes, I agree. And that was one of the reasons too that I thought about it and wrote about it. So, but yeah.
So my assumption then, if I'm going behind the scenes here, is that this is not the effect that Westhead wanted. Do you think this is an unintentional effect, or do you think they are stealing minds on purpose?
So for the prospect of Westhead Media, from what I've read, from some of Tanhoney's articles and another author's articles, I can't remember their name for the life of me. The Westhead Media was one of the. It was almost like a corporation. They would give a product, or they would have a particular thing. It would frame it as one thing, but it would have a more sinister definition, or it would have a more sinister meaning towards the end of it. Or if you actually looked into it and actually used it, you would realize it was more sinister. So I really tried to pull that aspect out of it. The two-sided coin, the good part, but the really bad part, the malicious implication behind it. So that was something I was really trying to focus on.
Cool. I'm going to approach this as a critiquer because I do that on the show. That way people can see the process and like think about it in their future writings. For D210987, that one, the thing about that log that confused me and the reason I wanted to come back to it is the first subject used it for 6 months extensively. That's the addendum that we just read.
Yes.
Now, the second one, they say the subject operated the application for 2 days before it was taken away. And down at the end of that test, it mentions that it's been concluded that 5343's anomalous abilities take approximately a week to begin manifesting. Now, my question is, how did they reach that conclusion that it took a week if we stopped at 2 days here? Are there tests that were missing?
Yeah, I tried to omit a lot. I just tried to, for me, this was more so just trying to outline what it is. So it's what goes back to verify the extent and limitations of this anomaly. So the key point here, I was trying to omit information. So it was more compact, because towards the ending of this article, it was actually becoming really word heavy and really word dense. There were more logs initially, but I realized that they really weren't needed. That basically readers just needed to understand when the timeline came about, and then once it hit that point, they no longer needed to know all the other extra information. So there was removed information prior, but I totally get what you're saying though.
Yeah, because a series of experiments were performed in order to verify the extent and limitations. These logs the experiments along with their results can be found below. Because there's no like extraneous data omitted. We do
Gotcha.
that sometimes when we cut out logs because there's too many of
Mhm.
them. And so because
Yeah.
this one says 2 days, but then we conclude that it takes a week, that confused me when I was first reading it.
No, I get you. I totally understand. Looking back at, I have not touched this article in months. Looking back at it now, though, that's a totally reasonable critique to have.
Now, the second one I had in the addendum paragraph, let me see if I remember what this was. Maintain a written journal at all times throughout the previously listed experiment. Journal was later found. Okay, yes. The journal was later found is weird because he's in a cell and we know where he and his journal are.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at that now and I'm registering that didn't make sense when I initially wrote it. No, that's right. I should probably edit that after this show, which I'll probably do that.
This is one of those things that's actually really fun about doing the show is that as I go through, we can find and improve the articles because the wiki allows you to do that.
Yep.
And there's a certain amount of stuff you don't find until you say every single word of it out loud.
Yes. You also pointed to a grammatical error somewhere up here. I think I found it.
Nice.
Let's see. Stored. Where was that? You pointed towards a grammatical error. I don't remember where it was, but I'll fix that later. So I appreciate the critique. That's very nice of you to critique and help me out with the article itself.
Oh, of course. Let's see. The only other thing I note is there was something in the logs that got me. And it was something like he looked at 6 stories over the course of a couple days or something. And if he's locked in a room with nothing else to do except read it, that confused me a little bit. But I guess that's just like the most nitpicky of nitpicks.
No, and I think that also goes back to canon because I mean like head canon. I mean,
Exactly.
In my head, they're not really aware that they're in an anomalous organization, and they have to frame it as something that it is, like a separate prison detention center. So that was my headcanon going into it. So
it's interesting. What your headcanon kind of, for this article at least, tells me is something that we don't often see with D-Class, which is that they don't know what they're being used for is even anomalous.
Yes.
So many canons will use D-Class where, like, they're signing up to do these dangerous tests because they might have a chance to get out. Whether that chance is real or not is another question. But it's interesting that in this case, he doesn't even know that he's in for anything weird. He's just like, this is any other prison, and I wonder what's going on. That's just like a different perspective, and I find that interesting. I don't know anything if it's good or bad. It's just like, that's different.
No, I get you. No, I get you. I appreciate that.
So you had this idea in your car. How did the critique process go with the other authors? How many iterations did this go through?
This was one of those articles that didn't really need a lot of iteration. I showed it to about 5 or 6 different people in the Discord chats and the IRC. But when it really only went through, I think 2 or 3. One of the iterations was that the tone of the recovered documents was way off. There was a lot of, and even reading through it now, there's still some tonnage issues, some pacing issues too. But it was way worse when it was initially came out. And another thing was some of the once again the the table of all the subjects. That was also something because I had a whole bunch of them at one point, and there was just way too much information to digest. And really, the focus and the implication of this article was towards the first addendum, and I didn't want to bring all the attention to the table. That just didn't make sense. And then third and final iteration was working on this little hazardous pattern because I was trying to figure out what would make the most sense logically and what would be said, if it would even make sense, what the word count is. So that was one of the final iterations.
Yep, one of the toughest things in writing is the phrase "kill your darlings," which is just shedding extraneous information as hard as you can, because
Yes.
maybe you wrote 10,000 words, but you got to pare it down to 5 so people will pay attention. So it's like, is
Mhm.
this really helping the story? I got to cut it. And that's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
really
of
hard
course.
process.
It is. It can be, especially for newer authors who don't really understand yet what is extraneous and what is unnecessary. That can be a really hard aspect for any author. Even pros and veterans have issues with that sometimes.
Dominic in the chat is talking about a bunch of good stuff, so I'm going to mention 2 right now.
Okay.
Number 1 is I don't remember from the beginning of this article. How does this app like get on your phone? Because Dominic asked if this is just one phone has this app, or if you can get this from somewhere. So, do you have any intel on that for the audience?
Yeah. So that goes into the first paragraph of the special containment procedures, which it says, Foundation web crawlers assigned to SCP-5343 are to monitor all mobile application distribution services for activity relating to this anomaly. If SCP-5343 is discovered, Foundation agents integrated within these services are to purge to its ability to transfer files. So this is basically a complicated version of downloading files from Google Play, from the App Store. That's what mobile application distribution services are. So my idea for it was that it was an app that you can download.
Cool. So it's like it'll show up in the App Store, and when we find out about it, we take it away.
Yes, yes,
Cool.
that was the idea.
The other thing they said that I want to just gush about for a second is I think it's funny that most other writers will take critique as an insult, but SCP writers will take it as help, because it is. That's actually one of my pardon my French, favorite things about this community, why I stand it so hard, is because it's really hard outside of the SCP community to get people to read and critique, because that's a proper job. That's called being an editor. People get paid for that.
I think another reason, partially, is that some people, when they write, some people have this thing that they do, that they kind of attach themselves to their writing. So receiving critique on their writing can sometimes be harder, just because they have that emotional involvement in their article, and that in their mind, this is a part of, almost like a part of their identity. So when you critique that, it's almost like insulting them, which is never the case. There's never trying to insult anyone for their writing and just trying to improve them. But in that moment, some people are just so emotionally involved and attached that it's kind of hard for critique to occur sometimes.
I know that feeling. I do that with my acting. With my acting and with my voice work, I get personally offended if I'm told that it wasn't good, and I have to like breathe, and I'm like, it's not, it's performance. Take the note. So yeah, we all got to learn to take that part of us out of it and let the work be separate from us.
Generally, it's a good rule of thumb to when you write, especially for some of the first time authors, is when you write, you write with the knowledge, or with the prior knowledge that this is going to change. Like, I think sometimes people may write, and they may have a detailed story that is just concrete, it's static, it's never going to change, and then there may be critical issues or flaws with the article itself. So if you go into the knowledge of this might not actually stick, but this might be improved upon later, the story's probably going to change, maybe, depending on situational factors, I think more people would be willing to receive that critique. And that's why a lot of SCP writers have an easier time receiving critique, because it's probably going to change, and they're open to change. And anything dealing with paranormal or anomalous is bound to be pretty weird, freaky in terms of our static mind. So it's definitely interesting.
Cool. Just for our up and coming possible SCP writers who might want to join the wiki at some point, a lot of people assume that SCP writers are like professional writers or do this for like hardcore, and I'm definitely not. Do you consider yourself a writer outside of the wiki?
Not in any traditional creative writing sense. This is really my first experience is on the SCP Foundation. These articles, this is really my first experience with just writing, just creatively, just trying to diverge or not diverge, or trying to basically put the atmosphere in the articles that I'm writing in to understand and learn how to frame certain phrases. The clinical tone is something that I greatly improved upon just by trying to write for articles for the wiki. Um, so I think the notion that you have to be a super adept or veteran writer beforehand, I think I don't think that's necessarily fair, because there are many articles that are written kind of on a whim, kind of without ever writing beforehand, that actually turn out really well. So
Indeed. As we wrap up to the last minute, standard final question. What is your favorite or multiple favorite SCP articles or tales on the wiki outside of your own work?
one of my favorites is 3393. 3393 is a really is a it's almost a format screw, in that it goes through its entirety, just kind of with the description, and at the very end it ends with its special containment procedure. And I won't spoil the article for anyone who's interested, but I really enjoy the meta aspect of it. Meta is one of my most favorite parts of any writing. I love meta writings. I love being involved. Another article that I found really cute and with a more sinister twist, kind of framed like this article actually, is Napic fails. What is it? I can't remember the number, but it was basically roses. It was like a keter or a keter, and it was basically these roses would grow whenever someone was having like a hard time or dealing with personal issues. These roses would grow anomalously, and they would have notes written by the targeted individual that the persons were having issues with. It's like 4865 or something. Um, but that article has a sinister twist at the end of it that really was unexpected, even for the author. And that one was a really heartwarming but kind of bittersweet article that I really loved. I actually tried to write a tale for it, but it didn't work out. But it was I love one of my favorite articles on the site as well.
I'm looking up. I googled SCP Roses notes, and I haven't
I
found
think
it
it's
yet.
You Are Loved. It's You Are Loved is the title. Let me see. Here we go. Is it 3922? Oh, I'm totally wrong then. Whoops.
You are protected. You are loved.
Oh no, wait, no, it is. It's sorry, that's all right. It's 4958, I believe. 4958. Yeah,
Nice.
I have the hardest time remembering numbers. I just have a hard time. I remember the general gist, but I can never really truly remember just the numbers themselves.
Once I realized that Google plus SCP plus a couple of keywords could pull up whatever I was looking for with like 90% efficiency, I
Yes.
stopped memorizing numbers at all.
Yes, Google is our friend. Has so many untapped, just so many aspects of Google are just so helpful. It's amazing.
CJops, by the way, thank you very much for the $2 super chat. It is very appreciated. Thank you, thank you. Cool, and we had you on to pimp SCP-5343, which is now at plus 57. Remember that if you like the articles we read, go vote on them. You can also go vote on them if you don't, but I'm not going to encourage that as much. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have another article of yours that you'd like to just shout out before we sign off?
I did a collab article with another author, 5963. It has Arcadia GOI, and you may find some comparisons between that and a popular video game franchise with animatronics and pizza, that you might like and might enjoy.
Oh
Um,
my.
it had, yeah, it was pretty. It was more of a meme to write it, honestly. The SCPD Discord server basically memed it into what it is. And that one was a collab article, and it might pique your interest. If I was to shout out any article, it'd be that one or 5018, but I'll refrain from talking about 5018.
Spoilers.
Spoilers, that's right.
All right, audience, you know what to do. Jack, go ahead and say your goodbye.
Toodles. See ya. Have a good day, good night, whatever time it is for anyone. It's almost 10 o'clock for me, so I have a good night.
Good night, good night. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Of course. Thank you.
And to our audience tonight, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed the article and the insight from the author. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit the subscription bell, become a patron if you'd like to help the channel. We're on TikTok at something like 87.5 thousand subscribers now. Hopefully they all come to YouTube too. And we will see you guys in our next Anomalous Broadcast from Site-42. Cheers.